Hello, Top Fan Rivalry supporters and followers, and welcome to Thursday. We've got Unraveling Baseball. You've had a fantastic week this week. Monday, we started with the American League with Ashley. Tuesday, we had four different ladies on talking about the National League West, I believe it was. Wednesday was the National League Central, which was absolutely amazing with another four ladies. And now we got the
We're going
best
to
of the
talk about
best.
the
So
American League.
we got the American League. We got Mike, and then we've got Lesley. Who, if you're looking for like a scale 1 to 10, Lesley's got she's like a 14. Baseball
Oh,
knowledge, she's
maybe
just
not.
like incredible. So, um, we've been talking ahead of time. And Mike, what do you think? Do you think we should just end it right here? Or just let's have a talk with Lesley. What do you think?
Right? Let's just let Lesley go. I can't believe,
No.
during our conversation in the pre-show, how impressed I am with her fandom and her knowledge of the Red Sox. It's awesome. So
Like I
I
said,
think I've met
14.
my match, Bill. I think I've met my match.
Like I said, a 14. She's
I don't
one.
think I'm nearly like that bad, but okay.
She no listen. She's one of the best. Mike, I've been wanting you two of you guys to meet because I knew that you meet your match, but she has baseball knowledge like galore. So she is one of the best women that we've interviewed, and it's always fun to have her on. So
And it's not only because she's a Red Sox fan.
that's
That just
true.
helps though. I mean, to
She's
be
See,
from the
fair.
Midwest.
see, listen.
It's true.
Now we've set it all up. Unless he's like, how do I reach these expectations? Boy, I'll just. She's like
The
Chevy
anxiety
Chase and
is
spies
real.
like us. Get in the microphone, and I lunch break. Gotta go.
Right? All right.
Emmett Fitzhugh. Okay. Lesley,
Okay.
welcome to Thursday. We are three-quarters of the way through the week. We've just got Friday left. Here we go. First question. When did you go to your first game in person?
So it would have been 1981, summer of 1981. I would have been three.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, we were staying with some friends down on the Cape, and we ended up going to a Red Sox game, and I was a goner pretty much from then on. And it was kind of that joke, like if you've watched Fever Pitch, they'll break your heart, kid. I mean, that was kind of the similar thing I was told, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I mean, yeah, they did. I mean, I actually got to just tell that to Oil Can Void over just like a week ago. That my parents woke me up in 1986 to watch them lose the World Series.
Oh,
Um, so, yeah, I mean, definitely we had some tough years, and we've had a rough couple past years actually, not making it to the playoffs. But I'm a
I think
lifelong fan.
there's sun peeking through the clouds, though. I have to say, I think we'll talk a
There,
little bit more about it later. But right, like there's
it's
some sun
they
peeking,
did
starting to peek through. Right,
something. I'll give them that. They've done
right.
something, but yeah,
Well,
we have
yeah,
a ways
yeah.
to go.
But
Yeah,
there's a reason that they call Fenway America's most beloved ballpark.
that's right. It's an
Awesome,
experience.
it 100% is right.
Yeah.
I I wish I could argue this point, everybody, but when you walk into Fenway, first of all, the concourses aren't as big as the concourses that you would see at some of the more modern ballparks. But when you go up that tunnel and you see that field for the first time, doesn't matter if you've been there or not before, there's something special about it. And so I can't even argue. I want to argue this point, but I got nothing.
No,
I
No.
got
you're
nothing.
just lucky that you've been there since they've upgraded the bathrooms, Bill.
I heard about that. I heard about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's I got a great story about that, but that's for
That's for another
one.
show.
Yeah,
That's as
that's
far as we'll go.
yeah, that's off it. So Lesley, is that after you went to your first game, was that when you really kind of fell in love with the sport, the Red Sox, the experience?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not right at three, but I think definitely by even six, I was invested in them. And um, we had kind of an exciting, 1985 here around where I live, which is the Midwest. because the Royals, of course, went to the World Series in 1985 and won. So it was exciting, but it still wasn't my Red Sox. So I wasn't like as overly invested as people around here were. But yeah, definitely always, I mean, my whole life, I feel like I've just been um, diehard baseball fan and Sox fan especially. And actually last week I think was fantasy camp and I was there. Got to run into Joe Castiglione. So it was like the voice of my childhood. I was so excited. I said to someone, I was like, this is the best day of my life. I could die right now. Happy person. meeting his Sting, like that was just the voice of my whole childhood and
Oh yeah.
my adulthood as well. Honestly, I mean, I was 26 when they won the whole thing in '04 and one of the best calls of my life. So it was a really special moment.
I,
Yeah.
I, I try to explain to people, and some people just kind of think I'm crazy, which, I don't blame them if they think I'm crazy, but, and Mike backed me up on this one. And Lesley, I think you'll agree with
We know
this.
you're crazy, Bill. We already know that you're crazy.
Preach, preach. I'm telling you what. Um, Baseball is like the best and worst relationship you've ever had.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's such a commitment. Like there's no commitment for a season of a sport like there is a bit for baseball.
Mhm.
It's every night for 5 or 6 months. And it's just like this roller coaster and it's beautiful and it's awful.
Someone just tweeted that out. I read that right before I hopped on this was you have to it's great to have friends that understand baseball and understand the commitment that baseball is because it's 162 days of I can't talk to you for 2 to 3 hours because I'm watching this game. So I mean, definitely, it's definitely a whole
That's a
commitment.
commitment.
It's a
Well,
commitment. It's a
I
love
try to
affair that it's like no
I try
other.
to explain it to people that aren't as committed as we are. Well, that sounded weird. Aren't as committed in the game as we are. Um,
To the game.
I try to explain to them that it is the best relationship that you've ever had. But when it's over, or when it goes bad, or when you're on a crazy losing streak, or your best player got injured, or whatever, it's like the worst breakup you had, like in high school. The one that just hurt, the one that just you felt like nothing was going to go forward after that point. And I'm
Yeah,
kind of that's what baseball does to you, right?
yeah, yeah. I definitely I think '03 was that for me. I just that
Oh,
when Boone hit that homer. Um,
completely heartbreaking.
completely heartbroken. And even game three in '04 of the ALCS, I really felt like I was at my best friend's. She was getting married that day, and like I'm running back and forth checking the
Oh
score.
my gosh.
Obviously, we didn't anticipate them, doing that. Um, and I was coming back to give the toast, and she asks, how's it going? And I said, well, it looks like we have to win four straight, so no pressure. But it was like, that you just kept giving them that one more chance, hoping that they were going to do something right. So it was definitely that kind of relationship for a while, and then we definitely had some good years, some good
Well,
years. But
I'm going to clarify something. Yankee fans, don't at me. If you're going to at me, Yankee fans, my name is Sam. No, I'm just teasing.
Sam dot Weisbuck.
It's one of Mike and I's common friends. The I'm going to tell you, Lesley. You and I talked about it last time, but I have since you and I have talked. I've watched the comeback Netflix show twice, two more times.
That's it.
Well,
I've watched it so many times, but it's just so good for me.
I mean, it was awesome, and I tell you what, I would love to have a one-on-one meeting with Veritek and just pick his brain for 20 minutes. Just it'd be
Yeah,
fun
he's the one that makes me cry though. Every time I watch that particular um,
for
documentary.
obvious reasons about Timmy
Yeah.
Wake. Yeah,
Yes. When
when
he
he
says he
says
was
that
my friend.
when he says that line, "You're my friend," he was my friend.
Oh,
It
yeah.
just Mike, have you seen this documentary?
I have not yet. I have homework for tonight.
You just I don't know of a single person who has not cried, honestly, watching that's a Sox fan. I mean, when you get to that part,
Oh
We were
yeah,
talking
I've seen the clips. I've
down
seen
in
the clips
Florida
and
last
stuff,
week, and I was
and
just like, every time I've watched it probably 5 or 6 times now, and every single time, like
Yeah,
I almost want to just fast forward through that particular scene because it just breaks your heart.
yeah.
it
Breaks
does.
your heart.
It does. So, Lesley, tell everybody that's listening to Unraveling Baseball here, tell us what do you love about the game? What keeps you going? What is it? What's the love for it?
I mean, how do you not love any sport where you could fail 7 out of 10 times and be considered a success? Like that's just crazy. And for me, being an ultra competitive person, I mean, I often joke like if you're not first, you're last. Um, I think that's such an interesting aspect of it. Or, you're down 4 runs or something, and then it's the bottom of the ninth, and
Yep.
you end up walking it off in this spectacular fashion. I mean, it's like to quote Brad Pitt, it's the most romantic like game. I mean, it's just magical. Like you don't have that in hardly any other sport because you can have that in the baseball world in a week several times, right? Like a walk off and everybody's so excited, and, whatever. You don't have that with football, hockey,
There's not the same kind of magical
basketball.
ride that
It's
that
not because
baseball game, a
it's
baseball
so
team, a
limited
baseball
to be able to
season,
do it.
right?
Um,
That, that yeah, there's because of its everyday nature, because of you know what can go on in any game at any specific time. Like yeah, like you said, there's no other sport that does that, and baseball, like you don't maybe a little bit more these days, and this is something Bill and I have touched on in the past, but you baseball to me, baseball is like the hardest working players. They
yeah,
go, they show up, they do their job, they don't complain about it. They act like they're probably the most professional, especially more than basketball and football players. Like you don't hear baseball players like whining and complaining all the time. You just know that they're going to show up, put it all out there, 162 games a year, and you how can you not like love and respect that?
exactly. And I mean, even if it's not your team, because obviously our Sox were out, they didn't make the playoffs last year. And, I'm watching the Mets in the playoff and they had that amazing like walk-off scenario. And it was fantastic. I was just like, this is why everybody loves this game. If you're a
Yep.
baseball fan at all, you're a baseball fan for life. And it doesn't, I can watch any team and I'm going to enjoy it and have fun. And especially when we were having the West Coast um, road trip last year, I was driving up to Kansas City to go watch like Kansas City Royals baseball because the Sox weren't playing until so late. And I was like, let's go get a baseball fix it. I think I'll just drive up there and, watch some ball. And then I can plug my earbuds in and listen to the Sox game as I'm
Right.
watching this game.
And
So
watch, the best young player in baseball.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mike, it was funny because I'd ask Lesley, hey, what did you do? Whatever. Oh, I just drove up there, I just went to the game. I
That's
like it.
awesome.
I like it.
I wish sometimes I had that ability.
You will. You will again
Right? Someday.
someday.
Well, I'm just, I just go by myself and I don't mind going to a game by myself.
I
So
would totally go by myself. I would
it's
go
great.
to I think maybe this year Worcester, I'll start doing that for Worcester. Like I'll just
Oh,
casually go
Worcester
to some
games are
Blue Sox
so
game.
fun.
Yeah.
So fun. Yeah, for sure.
Um, Mike, I actually want to go to Worcester game. And I'm actually gonna work. We're actually gonna do some stuff top end rivalry that might make sense over there too. So we'll talk.
Awesome. Yeah,
All right.
definitely. We love the Woo Sox.
The
Woo,
Woo
woo.
Sox.
The Woo
So, Lesley,
Sox.
we just talked about you going to a game, and I know you travel quite a bit to go to games,
Yes.
but roughly how many games do you go to a season?
Including the random Royals games that I attend, and of course, I go to all three of the Royals
Red
Red
Sox.
Sox when they're in Kansas City. I probably attend anywhere from 25 to 30 games a year, and I
All right.
watch all of them. If I'm not there, I'm watching them. So
What's the uh most memorable moment game that you've been to?
Good question.
I think Bill knows this answer. Um,
I do.
I was at game 7 in New York. So I watched
Okay.
every pitch that lasted out, and it was
Yeah.
actually trying to tell him that recently too. I was like, I don't think you fully understand me crying in Yankee Stadium in the house that Ruth built, surrounded by Yankee fans, and I'm head to toe Red Sox gear, like having this moment of I can't believe this is here, and I can't believe I got to see this, and it was still to this day I top game ever. I can't unless I watched them win a World Series at Fenway. I don't think it would
Sure.
even come close. It was surreal, like magical. You just
Yeah. Can you imagine, Mike? Can you imagine being there?
I mean, that is such a historic moment in Red Sox history that like there's almost nothing that will ever beat that because
ever.
you won't be able to recreate that. And it's certainly not in my lifetime. So
Yeah,
uh
and it just
but I
meant
was at
so much to us, right? Like you came back and you won four straight to do that.
right,
And
right.
I remember even like calling my mom later that night going, I don't know. I mean, like the World Series is going to be great. I hope we win, but I don't know that it's going to be more exciting than this game. And I
Yeah,
mean, it was.
right.
It was phenomenal. But
Sure.
at that moment, I was like, this is the best thing of my entire life. And I was up there and I came right back. I was campaigning in Iowa. And so it was just, I flew up literally for that game and came back the next day. It was crazy.
So when I was, and I've told this story, I think, before, at least to Bill. But when I was a kid, we would go to Red Sox games. Uh, I never went to a game the Red Sox won. So like when I was old enough to like comprehend that, I said to myself, I'm not going to any more games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so the last game that I went to, Tim Wakefield pitched, right? And then I think it was 13 or 14 years later when I lifted the ban for myself and I was like, all right, I'm going to a Red Sox game again. Tim Wakefield pitched. So it was just kind of, to me, that's a fun, again, personal thing for me with the Red Sox where, you know, I put this ban on myself because, again, I'd never seen them win in person. So like, I can't do it. This was after they won the World Series. So I was like, all right, I can lift this ban on myself. And it was just funny that like Tim had such a great career with the Red Sox that spanned so many years that it went from pillar to post for me. uh, that he pitched both of those games, just happened to be so.
Yeah.
I
Watching
was
Wake
like
pitch was
telling my
definitely
little
the,
orchid goat.
yeah. Yeah.
You're saying
Watching
watch one.
Wake pitch was, it was just so much fun, honestly. Like it was, yeah, that was always a phenomenal part of it.
I have a soft spot, not just
He
knuckleball.
was a heart and soul guy.
Yes.
He was.
No, he was a leader. Yeah, he was the leader of that team, and you knew it, and he carried himself that way, and you know he held the expectation that made the Red Sox great. So
Yeah, we had a lot of leaders. I mean, especially when you think of the 0304. I mean, you had Tech and you had Wake, Poppy, obviously becoming a thing, Pedro. I mean, I think that's what honestly they're missing a little bit now is they don't have the veteran players to lean on and they definitely need some of that leadership.
So
Yeah, they definitely do.
I'm going to go off script here for a second, Leslie. I'm going to
Oh
ask you a
God.
question. So for those of you listening to this, I always try to do my best. Mike and I try to do our best to give the questions ahead of time.
Hmm.
But you said something in this, and so I want to go off script for a second. If you could go hang out at dinner or whatever, have 2 hours to sit down, are you going to sit down with Veritek, or are you going to sit down with Terry Francona? You only have one.
Can I have the other?
I know, right? Oh man. I'm gonna go tech. I gotta go tech.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. I mean, Tito would be amazing as well, right? Like just to get the inside of um especially the struggle before they really kind of meshed together in
Mhm.
'04 of everything. But to hear the stories of like some of the shenanigans in '04, that would be fantastic. If you could get Tech to open up, but I don't, he's not really the open up kind of guy. So
I just both of those guys were leaders on that '04 team that
yeah.
they in obviously different ways, but I mean one was on the field, one was in the dugout, but they were such powerful leaders. And Mike, you had said the way that Wade carries himself on and off the field, those two guys were that's what I miss about today. We still have a lot of those guys in the game now, but now we're more about bat flips and exit velo and launch angles and stuff like that. And I don't know that Veritek ever went back on the dugout and said, "Did you see my launch angle on that one?" I don't think he cared, right? So
Maybe
Yes.
when he was four in a row. I don't know.
there you go. There you go. So I got one more of those. So I got one more of those. Noma or Dustin Pedroia.
Oh, there's no chance I'm not picking no more. I mean,
Okay.
it's no more. It's
Wow.
no
Wow.
more. Yeah,
Wow.
no. I mean, he was no more. Like it literally broke my heart when we traded for him.
Yeah.
And I thought at the time, like before we really saw what was coming, this is the dumbest move I've ever been making in like Red Sox history. Of course, it worked out really well for us in the end, but it's no more for sure. I think he's ever like anybody close to my age. I feel like it's definitely one of their favorite players of all time. So
Do any of these four guys ever have to pay for meals in Boston ever again?
I bet Nomar
no,
does.
Ah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. I can tell you, I've been in a couple bars with former Red Sox players and know that I've never seen them pay for anything. So someone's always buying their drinks. It doesn't matter if they get recognized at all. It's first of all, it's 20 minutes of pictures and selfies, and then you know, thank you so
That's
much for
true.
everything you did. When I was walking on opening day, I had my jersey on. It happens to be signed, and the kids behind me, they could not have been more than 5 back in '04 when they won it all. And I hear, oh my God, it's a signed jersey. And I was like, oh no, okay. So I turn around and it was just this whole thing. Like they started crying just at the looking of the jersey. And I'm like, oh, okay. I get it. I really do. But, let's rein it back in a little bit. And they said, do you think we're going to see any of them today in high school? I mean, they're all here. I mean, a lot of them are here today. So you might have a chance to run into somebody. But
Mhm.
it meant a lot to so many people there.
Can you believe that it's been over 20 years since that first title?
Yes and no, right? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
sometimes it does seem like it's been over 20 years. And, last year when we were there for opening day, it seemed like it was just yesterday. You're watching those clips and it's just like instantly flashing back in your head that
Right.
every single moment that happened. And it was surreal. I don't think there was a dry eye in the house that day though. So
Mhm.
lots of emotions came flooding back for many reasons. But
Mike, what about you? Would you choose Dustin or no one?
Oh, Dustin in a second. See,
I mean, I love Pedroia, but
because
it's
Dustin to me
Nomar.
is like Dustin is like the epitome of like what we love about the Red Sox. Like you could give me Trot and Nomar, and I'd pick Trot. Like I don't. Nomar
I
is a
wasn't
little
given Trot
to
as an
me.
option.
Nomar's a little prima donna. Nomar's a little prima donna.
No.
Me.
To be fair, I
I
wasn't given Trot as an
he was
option.
such
I
a
would have picked Nixon. I mean, yeah,
he
Dirt
was
Dog
such a
for
hype.
sure.
He was so hyped, so loved, and I get it. He was great, but you know what? He didn't win anything with us.
This is true. I mean, yeah, yeah.
Do you so besides for Nomar's infamous home run in Dodger folklore when we came back and there was back home runs one night? You know what I remember about Nomar most, being a West Coast kid, is those
Jimmy
90s,
Fallon,
mid
Rainbow Drive.
90s years where it was Nomar, A-Rod, and Jeter all trying to compete for all-star spots, right? And one always ended up missing it. But it was you had those three dynamic. You had Seattle, you had the Yankees, you had Boston. It was great.
Yeah.
I like Nomar. By the way, Nomar would strike out without getting one pitch thrown on him nowadays with the pitch clock. So
Oh
Yeah, yep. I mean, that's the thing though, is like we got to see that, right? Like that was amazing. Oh, that whole batting, yeah, it's great. It was great.
yeah, the
For that
gloves.
batting warm up, it was almost as good as Manny's swing. Like just
See,
the
that's where you will never get an
iconicness.
argument with me. And I've said this before. Manny is my all-time favorite Red Sox. And the
That
swing,
swing was
Manny's
a thing of
is the
beauty.
sweetest swing. He can cut
Yeah,
off all the Johnny Damon throws in the world.
yeah.
It doesn't matter because he could swing the bat like nobody else.
oh, too funny. All right, Lesley, because I know that people are loving this, but I'm sure they're going, man, I got to go back into work. So I'm going to ask you one last question, and then Mike and I
Okay.
will wrap up. But here's the question that I'm going to ask: Is we got the 2025 pitchers and catchers have already reported. We got the 2025 season upon us. So what are you looking forward to most about seeing the Red Sox, or what are you looking forward to most this season?
Oh God, I don't want to even jinx it. I'm looking forward to being hopefully getting to the playoffs this year. We were really close last year. That's what I'm looking forward to. So just spending a lot of anytime I can spend the majority of my weekends up in Boston, it is always a good time for me. And um, yeah, definitely getting to watch some good baseball. I think we have a good team put together so far, and
Yeah.
good baseball is good baseball. So if they can just do a little bit better than last year, better than 500, it's a baby step our way there.
The best 500 team in baseball last year.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't know. If
But
they just could have kept that momentum going before the All-Star break, we would have had a good run. But
Oh my God. If they didn't have to play the Dodgers coming out of the All-Star break.
Lesley, I don't know if I told you this or not, but Mike and I made a prediction on Unraveling the Red Sox last year, and Mike said right before game one of 162, he said the Red Sox are going to be a 500 team. And then about a month and a half in, we both thought maybe we were wrong. And then at the
well,
end of
who
the
didn't?
season, we were right.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely that run. I mean, even gosh, I joked that I was like bought in game two, right? Against we were still playing the Mariners. And oh wow, this is I was not expecting this, right? And then
Yep.
you had that great run, and I was like, oh my gosh. And there was a point where they were on par for like the 014. And I remember saying that, like, oh my gosh, this is no, it's not gonna happen. And then they just, tanked in that second half. But their pitchers just didn't have the
Pitching was not good last year. And it
no,
is
and I mean it
so
wasn't great, but I feel like they did well with what they had. And if they could
oh
have just
sure.
maintained any energy left. I mean, they just didn't have anything
But
left.
they were pitching above their heads last year.
They were, they were, and Andrew Bailey, I mean, seriously, tip the cap, but you can
Yeah,
only
for
do
real.
so much. Like you can only do so much with what you have. And
Right.
uh Kenley, he was just done at a certain point last year, and so looking forward to seeing what we have this year with
For sure.
Crochet
And
and Walker Bueller. So
when
let's
the
go.
rotation is full of threes and fours, like you're gonna get what you're gonna get.
Yeah,
So getting a one and a two this year is gonna be huge.
one and a two, and then there's this weird thing happening with the schedule. I don't know if you've noticed this, that there's a whole stint of no Thursday games. It's absolutely bananas when you look at the schedule. So you might not have to do the 6-man rotation that they were talking about. You might be able to stretch it out to 5 and save some arms, which will be great. So I'm excited for that.
The
Yeah, that's
scheduling this
awesome.
year makes no sense whatsoever. I've looked at a number of teams,
Yeah, it
um, and I've
makes
looked at
no
a number
sense.
of rivalries. So Dodgers Giants don't play each other until June.
Yep.
When does
Sox
that make
Yanks
sense?
is June because it's my birthday weekend.
Yep, yep,
So yeah.
yeah. So um, you will have to well, I'll tell you both of that. But Mike, anything that we want to wrap up with as we're wrapping up the show today?
Man, well, no. Yes, I was just trying to get you to spit out your drink.
I feel like I'm Harry Doyle there, right? In the Major League. Money, you got anything? Fly ball, caught.
I'm yeah, okay. You got me.
All
Uh
right. Well,
I just want to thank you, Lesley, so much for coming on the show today. It
It's
was
my
great to talk
pleasure.
with you and to relive some of those great moments in Red Sox history, uh, and just to talk about the Red Sox and baseball in general, which is why we usually unravel to baseball from
Yeah.
unraveling the Red Sox.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
my pleasure. This is a lot of fun. So thanks for having me on.
Lesley, you gotta agree to come back on about mid-season.
Of
We'll talk
course.
about the Red Sox mid-season, but we're gonna play a game with you next time that we're on. Okay, we're gonna play this game called Start One, Bench One, Cut One, and we'll give you three players, and you have to start one, you have to bench one, and you have to cut one.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Yep.
This will be great, Mike. We're gonna do this mid-season on Unraveling Baseball. Start one, bench one, cut one. Red Sox edition.
Red Sox edition.
There you
I'm
go.
ready. Ready
Well,
for it.
Top Fan Rivalry supporters, we sure do appreciate you, Lesley. Taking your Thursday morning with us is just absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much. And we'll look forward to having everybody on soon. Have a
Thank
good
you.
morning, all.